What's up, y'all? This your girl, Ashley Nicole. Welcome back to Free Dope Podcast. Today, we have special guest, Tiara, and we also have special guest, Jennifer, our mental health specialist. And also, we got Ham and we got Thump. And today, we are going to be discussing mental health. So, yeah. And we're going to start with the basics. What is mental health to y'all?
Ooh. Good question. To me, mental health is just the whole process of taking care of yourself from start to finish. It's just being aware of your patterns, of what you like, what you don't like, what's emotionally taxing for you. Really just being aware of yourself and taking care of it.
Yeah, like the phrase mental health gets tossed around a lot these days. Like, I want to say for the aesthetics, people want to say, oh, I'm depressed, oh, I'm stressed, but people really don't know the root of these things. Like, what's the signs of mental health? Like, some things that you can point out. Say, like, yeah, I might need some help in this area.
Anger. If you find yourself angry most of the time, definitely need to get checked out. Prolonged sadness. I say prolong, emphasize on that because we all get sad. Life has its ups and downs. So prolonged sadness for sure. Sleeping problems.
Right.
If you have insomnia. Yeah, overeating, undereating.
Substance abuse, like drugs, alcohol.
Absolutely.
Or being too happy. I think a lot of people mask it like over smiling.
The fake positivity.
Because it's a lot of fake positive. Those are the ones that usually commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because you never see the signs. You never see it coming.
Those are the ones that are like usually the strong ones that got it together. People are like, oh, no, we don't have to check on them because,
they're strong.
They're usually the ones that's always checking in on people or...
They're the strong friend.
Yeah.
Right.
And, actually lately that's like been circling a lot on social media and just in general, like the message of the strong friend always gets overlooked.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're the one that has it all together or they're there for everybody else. So
they always know what to say for everyone else. But when it's their time to be comforted, they don't have that.
Exactly. Because they're the strong one. So no one sees that they need it back. And
so y'all saying that's what it means to y'all? Like, or that's like the effects?
What you mean?
Like you saying like the fake happiness, because at first she said like what do
they
it
were
mean
talking
to
about
us?
the signs.
Oh,
the signs.
signs.
Different signs of like noticing mental health, like you seeing different signs in people, because it's not just like the sad or the Eeyore, the people with dark clouds. It can be the people that are extremely happy. You'd be like, damn, like you'll hear about somebody committing suicide or just going off the rockers and
no emotional regulation.
And it was like, wait, this person was just fine. Like, how we didn't pick up the signs? But I always try to, like, when I talk to people, I always like check in. How are you feeling? Like, because I think we so like in auto mode of I'm okay, I'm good.
Yeah,
it's like, no, like, how are you feeling? Like, being present. Like,
that term is survival mode. I think a lot of people live and we're born and we're raised in survival mode. And the hardest part about being an adult is figuring out how to get out of survival mode to where you're using the executive part of your brain and making good decisions.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have not reached that point. And they died not ever reaching that point.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of that's from, like, awareness, like, not being aware and not
lack
having...
of. Yeah. And
So-
it's also trauma.
Yeah,
So
trauma-based.
how early do y'all think awareness comes for teaching mental health? Like maybe a third grader, fourth grader. Like when do y'all start talking to kids about their mental health? What does it age, or is it just when they're able to communicate with you?
I would say from the earliest you can, like even when they can't communicate, you still want to teach them, because they're going to eventually pick it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would say from earliest is like 1 year old and on. I mean, I have a 4-year-old and I've bought him books on like emotional regulation and how to speak on his emotions, sad, angry, mad, all those things. And he now says, Mommy, I'm frustrated, or you're making me frustrated. And he'll just walk off and kind of give himself a second. So I feel like there's really no like set age.
Right.
But I would say the younger the better, because then, you know, they'll be able to develop themselves all throughout their childhood and, you know, adolescence and stuff, being able to communicate how they feel.
And I think as a child, you get, especially I want to say like the black household. I came from a black household, but just having my feelings be suppressed, like
Right.
less
Not
than
being able to
not being
communicate.
valid. Yeah, like having being like shut up, like you can't talk about it, like.
Right.
It's the
You
same
know.
thing in Hispanic households.
Yeah.
It's very like, no, like, you know, like we were talking earlier. The first question is, if you tell your mom or dad you're depressed, they're going to be like, what are you depressed about?
Right.
You have nothing to
I
be
gotta go to
worried
work
about.
every day.
Yeah.
He ain't got no
nothing to stress
bills.
about.
Right.
So do you think that chastising, does that add to issues with kids and their mental health, or is it help, or or it doesn't help?
The thing about it, like those first 5 years are very imperative, like because it's not more so of what you say, or because the first question was like, how do you help them? Like, are there things that you can say? But it's not what's said; it's what they're taking in, because those first 5 years are setting you up for the rest of your life, because it's programming your brain, and it's that programming in those first 5 years are going to replay for the rest of your life over and over and over. So that's why you have adults who find partners and seek people who are in the same state of depression as them. Like the hip term now is trauma bonds. You find yourself in trauma bonds because you've never healed that child that was suppressed and that was not able to express how they felt. Now that 5-year-old child is an adult out in the world, and now they don't know how to communicate in the world. Like simple things like, if you have the type of parent that never even allowed you to make a decision, like if you get home from school and you say, hey mom, I want to go to McDonald's, and then they say, we got food at the house.
Yeah.
You know, like small things like that set you up for being an adult. Like you can ask a woman, oh, what you want to eat, babe? And she'd be like, I don't know. That I don't know comes from her being suppressed as a child. She never got to make those decisions. So now she's an adult. She still can't make those decisions. And so.
Which is why, to your point, I would say it's never too early to start teaching them that, because again, kids, we're raising kids to be adults. They're not always going to stay little, so we have to
And it doesn't
slowly
start at a certain age. It starts when they're born.
Right.
Exactly.
What about physical chastising, like whoopings, should I say? Beat. People say beat. Whatever you want to put on it. Is whooping your child ever good?
No.
In no circumstances at all.
No, because the real psychological issue behind that is that we're their parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for us to physically harm them and cause them a great level of pain and then turn around and be like, I love you,
Right.
blah, 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 you're
It's
really
weird.
just setting them up for accepting forms of abuse, realistically.
Was you chastised as a kid?
Yes.
Was. Do you see the difference between kids that wasn't chastised and kids that wasn't? Like, you see the difference? Like, if you put two kids who get whoopings and ones that don't together, you can see the difference without even saying which ones, you know what I'm saying? So I hear what you're saying.
I feel like a
But
structured
but
discipline.
it's not,
Right.
because I got plenty of ass whoopings.
It has to
is
be
why I'm saying.
communication.
Yeah.
I'm not against physically chastising your child, because I feel like every child is different. It's not effective, like mentally, but some children might need that. I feel like it's more common in our community. I can just say that because all the black people I know got whoopings for the most part, and it wasn't. But what's missing from that is the
The
communication.
communication from the
Right.
it's like I'm gonna beat you because I'm angry, but I'm not gonna explain to you why like I beat you and
Right.
this is the outcome.
But
That's the
was there
thing.
was there conversations leading up to that? Like, were you as the adult able to effectively communicate what you wanted to say, regulated?
Yeah.
Not on 10.
The difference is
Because children deserve respect too.
Correct.
Dogs
Exactly.
deserve respect. So if you have a child and you say, sit your mother ass down, instead of saying, hey baby, sit down, that's not safe, explaining to them why you're saying it instead of just coming at them. Because as an adult, when you wake up or you go to work or you're in the world, you don't want people coming at you. So why should you be able to go home and have your parents, or start your day, you wake up, get your ass up.
That's no way you want to start your day.
Why would you want to
Honestly,
send your child to school like that?
I have a neighbor who literally every morning, her kid can't be more than like 5 or 6. Okay,
Like, what is the baby really doing?
Right, her kid can't be more than 6 years old. Okay, honestly, because he looks just like my son. And every morning she's yelling at him, "Mother, get in the bathtub." First of all, why is this like a little kid getting in the bathtub by himself?
morning,
Like in
early
the
in the
morning,
morning like
bathing
that.
before bed. But that's not the point. So she'll like start yelling at him,
I think it's
cursing.
the cycles that were never
It
broken.
teaches,
Right.
it teaches people how to treat you. So when you go out in the world, like Ari, everybody knows Ari,
Yeah.
right? She recently did an interview where she said that before she was with Moneybagg Yo, she felt like if none of her boyfriends beat her, then they didn't love her.
Oof.
That's coming from a deep rooted place of trauma.
Lord,
As you can, if you watch the newest season of The Impact, she had her dad on there. She has really deep rooted father issues, but
'Cause he is
imagine
a
how
trash bag.
messed up you have to be emotionally to think that every relationship that you get in, you have
Correct.
to be physically beaten
Correct.
to be loved. So what does that tell you about how she was raised?
And that's why, to your point, I was saying, you know, you want to make sure that if you're disciplining your child physically, they know the difference between discipline or like an angry beating. Because, you know, when you're beating your kid out of anger and frustration, that's abuse. That's abuse. That's not discipline
if you had a
anymore.
bad day from work, you tired, they won't
you
sit
just want to
down.
take it as these.
Yeah, I would say I got whoopings too, but I never like felt like my mom ain't love me or something. Cause I did shit like I was bad as hell, so I already
Yeah, I
knew.
don't think you
Before I got a whooping, I knew what I was getting whooping for. Like she didn't have to say it. Like I was bad as hell, so
Kids that
I feel like those whoopings helped me, and I like I said, it ain't ruined me like mentally or whatever. Like, but at the same time, growing up,
whoopings.
I
I done
think
had
your
ass whoopings where I
intention
knew it was abuse.
like listen,
In the 4th grade, I knew that shit wasn't
we
right.
growing up, you feel me? Like they know we gonna be men one day, so it's like we was taught like like boys don't cry, stuff like that, and
Right.
I don't feel like that hurt me or ruined me. I feel like it made me a great man.
Did it stick with you though? Do you cry?
No,
No, I don't cry.
How do you process emotions then?
you don't. You
I-
suppress them.
Yeah, I
Suppress it, 'cause
definitely
it's okay.
suppress
It's a
it.
release. Like crying.
But
is
it's
a
like I don't
release.
want to be no emotional dude too. At the end of the day,
Why
like,
not?
But that's
Just
but
'cause,
that
like-
just proved our point. So basically, you
drop.
weren't able to you didn't feel whatever place in your childhood you didn't feel comfortable expressing your emotions. You didn't have a safe place where you could go and talk and get things off of your chest, so you suppress them. So
Correct.
now as a grown man, you're still suppressing your emotions. So if a woman wants you to be open and be honest and be available for her emotionally, you may struggle with that.
But I don't think that's the truth. Cause
And it's
okay,
not
Thump
it's
say
not consciously, it's
Thump say he got whoopings,
subconsciously.
right? But he more emotional. He emotional more than me. Like he know how to express his emotions.
But you're two different people.
Oh, because I know how to express. I'm putting my mic up. I know how to express my emotions a little better now because I've been through
a
therapy and
choice.
still actually going through therapy right now.
So before that, like you,
before that, I couldn't. You couldn't tell me. You wouldn't know nothing was going on with me. I wasn't sure that at all.
even in a relationship,
Even in a relationship, it took for me to go to therapy and actually talk to somebody to realize how fucked up I was.
because you mentioned you got when the situation happened where you got cheated on or whatever, you kind of opened up to her and let her know how that made you feel.
I was after therapy.
So you just recently let her
What
know how
made you
feel?
go to
Oh no,
therapy?
I've been going to therapy for a while now, bro.
But I'm saying before this was when you was younger. Remember you was saying like, "Oh, she cheated with my dog," but you talked to her after that and you expressed how you felt.
You misinterpreted. We never really talked about that. I'm able to open up about that to y'all now because I'm in a different space. But it was never like it ain't used to be like that. I could never tell. I would never come out of my mouth and tell nobody I went through that.
Yeah.
But now that I can talk like that now.
I think now it's more of a safe place for
Yeah.
black men to be vulnerable because it was a time in a space where it was looked at or frowned upon, like, oh, he's soft or oh, he's overly emotional. But I think it has to be a balance. It's like the females, we're not the only ones with emotions. We're all human. We're all human, but it's those deeply rooted seeds that were planted in us as kids.
Right.
That's like we have to unrelearn and train ourselves to.
That's why, as a therapist, I say that mental health or not mental health, but like therapy for your mental health is important, because you don't always have to wait until, you're in crisis or in a problem to go get help. It's a good way to learn about your coping mechanisms, how you process emotions, or if you don't, you know what I mean? Triggers. And sometimes you may not even catch certain things that may be an issue for your, your better quality of life. And it's until you sit there and completely, I would say, pull your life apart in a therapy office and put it back together when you really realize, you know what? I wasn't always all right. I wasn't okay as I thought I was.
So you feel like suppressing your emotions is a bad thing?
It's a horrible
because
thing.
how would you have to deal with it if you don't even like know you really going through it? Like, I don't like to think about shit. Like, that's how I suppress. Like, if
so
I'm going through something,
stuff.
I avoid stuff. I don't like confrontation, none of that, because like I don't want to think about it. I don't want the emotions, like I don't want to feel like sad or feel mad or whatever it's gonna make me feel. So I feel like it make, I ain't gonna say suppressing a good thing for all people, but I feel like it helped me. And
how did it help you?
Just not dealing with it, like like being sad or being mad. Like I could forget shit and deal with it when it come back around.
Love is one of the best things on this earth, and it's free. So what that translates to me as, you are only living as a shell of yourself because you're not allowing yourself to fully experience life and love, because you are blocking off people and experiences and opportunities because you're being so closed off.
That's called an avoidant attachment style.
And it's you living in survival
mode. People get close to you.
Right.
Ooh. My therapist said that.
Diagnosis for his ass. So, you start your first day of therapy tonight.
But like I said, I gotta goal, like shit I want to do. So I don't really.
There's gonna
be
come
thinking
a point.
about that too much.
Right. There's gonna
like my like y'all said, what mental health mean to y'all? Like mental health to me is like peace.
Yeah, but how do you get peace if you keep avoiding your problems?
All the way free.
How do you develop peace if you keep avoiding the emotions that are underneath everything? Where's your peace in that?
You find happiness what you like doing. Like I like fishing, or playing basketball. So like I go do shit that make me happy just to, keep my mind off it.
But it's those moments, I'm not going to discourage that. It's those moments where you go and you do those things and you have that solitude and you have that quietness where you need to sit with your thoughts. And even if you don't say it out loud, you still have to process it. Suppressed emotions, that's why Black people like die from high blood pressure, have heart problems.
Stress.
People think that it's only the food, but suppressing your emotions is keeping all that anxiety in your body that can't be good for your brain or your heart.
That, like, a decline in mental health actually causes physical diseases.
Your
like
brain
chronic
controls
illnesses.
everything in your body.
One of our questions too is how does your mental health affect your physical health?
It 100% does. You have to think about the fact that your body doesn't work without your brain being right. You know what I mean? So I keep hitting this microphone. So, not taking care of your mental health, can give you cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, like you mentioned, hypertension, inflammation.
And all of those are the leading causes of death for Black people, right?
Absolutely. Especially cardiovascular. Cardiovascular in general is one of the leading diseases that kills people every year, but it is seen more in people that have a bad mental health.
But even though I like suppress it, it's nothing I suppress that like it's like life changing to me. Like it be little stuff. I don't let a lot of stuff get to me, so it don't be like major stuff I'm suppressing. Like
I'm interested to talk to you one-on-one.
I
did therapy before, but I feel like therapy told me everything I already knew. Like I tried it out like for like a month. I talked to somebody like every week and it was telling me everything I felt like I already know. Like I accept it, like how I move and how I like process stuff. Like I don't want, like I said, when you got goals and you want to do stuff, it's like I feel like emotions hold you back, like with a lot of stuff.
But that's only
because
you
can't
sit
focus
in the
on
emotion.
Yeah, I don't sit in emotions. Like I forget it. Like if I never went through nothing crazy to where it's like
you weren't able to bounce back.
Yeah, I never went through nothing like that. Like
maybe some stuff that you forgot about, because I can say that trauma definitely makes you forget things, because it's been things in my recent, like this year has been like my spiritual journey awakening, and I've learned and found out so much stuff about myself just from doing like the shadow work and just like going to them dark places, like, because I'm like, everybody see me on the outside like, oh, she cool, she good, but it's like, yeah, when you're alone with your thoughts and you're sitting here thinking about, you know, just things will come to you, especially you pray and ask about it, like, all right, God, like, why is this like this? Like, where is this coming from? Like, where's the root of it all? And it'll bring some stuff to you that you...
I can say, I mean, as a therapist, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for I don't even know how long. And I'm still finding things out from my childhood that I'm like, damn, that really happened? I have no recollection of that. And I go and ask my sister, I'm like, hey, do you remember XYZ? She'd be like, yeah. I'm like, I'll be damned, I didn't remember that. And then
subconsciously
it's
we
flooding.
bury it.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, then we wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah. Well, it's in, and even in like psychiatric studies, like when you do like scans of the brain, in comparison to people that haven't experienced severe trauma and those who have, there's actual physiological changes to your brain. There's even pockets that are like gray and blackish, and that's basically like your neurons aren't firing in that area, and there's like a blockage, so to speak.
Stuff that might be trauma to other people, like, it's different for me. Like, no lie, like shit that might have traumatized somebody else was like cool to me. Like, real talk. I remember like growing up, right? This real talk, like,
Did you say that it might be cool to you?
Listen,
like I said, I'm intrigued to talk to you.
No cap. My mom, I forgot. I don't know who it was, but some kind of way dudes robbed the bank. They came to the house, right? And fucking SWAT kicked in the door, threw flash grenades, and it's like, when I think about that, it was like, damn, that shit
was not normal. We went
that was in your house, or that was a neighbor?
No, that was at my house.
There's nothing normal about that. And
it was just
and it wasn't like it was like a cool experience for me. It wasn't like,
no, that's not normal.
That's not.
yeah, it's not.
It's
That's what I'm
just
saying. It's not normal.
The environment got you thinking that it's normal.
No,
Right.
I don't think it's normal. Like I said, it's not normal. It might traumatize somebody else, but like growing up, like
Like
where
you ain't
we
gonna
come
have
from,
dreams
it was
about
like,
it. Like type
damn.
of
When
shit.
I talk about that, it'd be like a conversation. Like, damn, that shit happened.
The messed up part is that it's normalized to you. That's the issue in it. It's not an issue that you feel that way, but it is an issue that you feel like that's normal, or that it doesn't affect you, because that's not what a child is supposed to go through.
Because it's like at that age, you're not even old enough to even process what's
that.
going on.
I think I was like 10, but like I said, it was just like, we talk about it, be like, damn. Like, even my brothers will laugh about the shit. Like, it was like it was, I ain't gonna say it was cool, but it was like,
Just like in the hood when somebody gets shot, and it just be like, damn, boy, that nigga got. We laugh about the shit.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But we didn't even understand.
So that's
Yeah,
why it's
absolutely.
important to change your environment and to change the people that you're around and to change your friends, because sometimes, like, that's why they say elevation is key. Like, that's why when you see a lot of successful people, they're usually either alone or they have a very small team, right? Or they have only people around them that they work with. They don't really have friends because they don't have time to maintain the relationships.
Or they
got
realize
another
that
question.
people are a liability.
Right.
Why is therapy so expensive?
Why is therapy so expensive?
Yeah.
Man.
Because they don't
And
want
I-
you to be in your right state of mind.
And I
That's
understand.
No, that ain't it. That ain't it.
I understand that you know, y'all have to get paid and all that, but you know, it's a lot of people that I know that actually want the help but can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then they say, you know, your insurance will pay for it, but the insurance that most people have,
Doesn't
Medicaid, won't
Doesn't even
cover it.
Yeah.
So the people that I'm having conversations with are like, yeah, you know, the system wants to keep us in this box, you know, and the therapists, they don't really care. It's all about the money. They charging us $150, $100 an hour. Like, what person that actually needs the mental health can actually afford that?
Yeah.
So what's your answer on that?
It's honestly, as a therapist, it's something that I hate too, because it's not fair. I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people that need the help can't afford it. That's just how it is. And it's one of those things where I feel like the new age wave of therapists are starting to change that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot more resources and opportunities that people are creating now to make therapy more accessible. I would say here's my theory on this, and it's not necessarily a theory. It's something that I was taught, but a lot of people don't really tap into it just because of what it is. But therapy in the mental health industry was centered around white people. It was created by white people. Most of the therapists were white for a very long time. And I feel like that has something to do with the pay scale and the process of how people are able to or not able to afford therapy. I also believe that a lot of people are in the field for the wrong reasons. Understandably so. I feel like it is a duty of a therapist to understand the difference in people's economic status. And it's actually an ethical part of what we're supposed to do is take into consideration people's situations. So it is disheartening to hear that therapists, reject people because of the lack of economic standpoint that they have. But another issue is also insurances. Insurance companies see this more as a luxury, as instead of an actual necessity, and that's the biggest beast of this all.
And that's crazy because you can't do anything if that mental is not right.
Correct.
Exactly, and it's like they haven't seen no change with that. Like, I've been doing therapy for some time now, and to me, it seems like the numbers getting higher. If you ask me, the price is getting higher because I found someone new, and it took me a while to find this number, and it was $150 for a couple, and then it's like $130 for a single person. So it's like take $20 off. You come by yourself.
What's the frequency for that payment?
Is it weekly or is that a weekly payment?
No, that's every session.
Oh,
okay. So if
every
you
session.
go,
So every time I want to come, it's $150.
Yeah.
So
and that's without insurance.
That's out of my pocket.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Usually out of pocket is going to be more expensive.
Yeah, because ain't no insurance.
It's like
I heard. I ain't haven't seen no insurance yet that'll pay for it.
Right.
So
yeah, that's crazy because only reason I did therapy because my job offered it because they worked the shit out of us. So I guess they feel like, oh, this is how we go.
So my point is what I'm getting at is like, who's really trying to help? Like all these people need this help, but it seems like nobody's trying to help. You see what I'm saying? That's how people
just how
ask
you
questions.
did the research and you found something that you can afford. I feel like a lot of people cut corners when it comes to your health and when it comes to things that benefit you. Like if you see like a pack of lean meat in the store and it costs $3 more than a pack that got a whole bunch of fat on it, what are people going to pick up?
The cheaper one.
The cheaper one.
Right.
Like people will go out and buy different things, go out to the club, spend all this type of money, or
But won't invest
in themselves, in their bodies, and bettering their health.
You're right.
Your health is an investment because you can't do any of the things that you like for leisure without good health and without a good mental. So your health, when you get to a certain point as an adult, should be an investment.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be as expensive as it is, but you did the work to find something that was affordable for you. So unfortunately, that leaves us as consumers in a position to have to do the work to find something that suits our situation.
And there are out there, like, it may not be as common as those that are more expensive, but there are therapists that are a little bit, more compassionate and realistic when it comes to their fees. So like to her point, definitely it sucks that a lot of people aren't willing to take more time and investment to find these resources. But I would say give it time. I know that it's like a very frustrating thing, when you're obviously in the middle of it and you're in your crisis and stuff. But to see an overall change within the industry, I would say give it some time. There's a lot of people up and coming. There's a lot of...
See, that's like one of the trending, like you can go on Instagram right now, Facebook, you're going to see something that relates or correlates to mental health.
To mental health,
self-care.
yeah. There's a lot more people that are a lot more aware of the reality of mental health that are going into the field. So I feel like within the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a huge shift on fees, on resources, on services.
And employers providing those.
Yeah, those services.
I think it'll be, as it is now, it's becoming more of a topic. So I think that it'll grow, more in depth, like you're saying, with the employee benefits or just as services or even acceptability.
Just, like, people joke about it, but like mental health days should be a thing.
Yeah.
Like sick days, like all that. Like I feel like you should have a day or two your employer should provide that to you. You just wake up that morning, you like, man, listen, I'm having a low day. Like, my social media is really low. My triggers are triggering, and I don't feel like work is a safe place for me. Like, I feel like you should be able to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Or employer should put you in a position to be able to protect
and
yourself.
I feel like that's the downfall of our society being in the Western,
Yeah, it's not prioritized at
it's
all.
not, because here, all that is prioritized is the hustle, the 40-hour work week and pay your bills and blah, blah, blah. It's not like in comparison to Europe where, that some places still have a siesta and close in the middle of the day. You can go home and take a nap and be
where
with
they
your family.
actually pay for your
Yeah,
health
they pay for your
insurance,
health
where
insurance.
You
Where
can
you
go
say they do that? Where they do that?
In
Like
Europe.
Europe.
Certain,
In
yeah,
Europe?
yeah, certain countries in Europe, if not all,
pay
but
you.
they pay you for that. There's countries in Europe that you get a year maternity leave completely, and it's not like just a portion of your salary that they pay you like it is here. It's your whole salary they give you for a whole year, and it's paid by the government, not by the employer. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, our society is just not built for
they're
it.
funding
They don't
wars,
care.
but people are literally dying.
There's wars in our head.
Right. Inside and out, just deteriorating.
That's true.
I know dealing with women is easy, but men like him, how do you penetrate? Men like him.
He
You need a little bit of spiritual.
It ain't bad. It ain't bad as it sounds like.
Well, let me
I'm
not
saying-
single him out then.
Yeah, because
Men in general.
I don't
men,
really go through a lot that, like, I have mental. Like, I'm strong as hell. Like, even when I go
But
through
you
shit.
could be strong to a fault. You could be strong to a really big fault, to the point where
that's an indication of survival mode, and that's
Yeah.
not a safe place for your brain or your heart to be in for 30 plus. You're 30 plus, so that means you've been living in that state of mind for 30 years. That's a lot on your body,
and it's not normal to be in survival mode in general, but especially for so long. It's just, like your nervous system. That's a really big thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to, is your nervous system. If you are in complete survival mode for years on end, your nervous system is completely out of whack.
Any little thing could push you over the edge.
You could break at some point. Right now, you're strong. Anybody that has the same type of mentality that you're expressing can be strong right now. But at some point, something's going to happen in your life that is going to completely derail you, and you're not going to know how to come back up.
That's what I'm
you don't
saying.
have
So,
the
like,
tools.
since he hasn't been derailed yet, like, what do? Well, not him, not him. Let me not.
We just using you as an example.
Let me take him
you
out
put
of
yourself
it.
out there.
Since you know what I'm trying to say, but like, how do you make him tell you a secret? Like, how do you get him to be vulnerable to
Someone
you?
who
Like,
thinks that
like,
nothing
you
is
can't.
wrong.
Yeah,
It has to be.
I
from
can't
the
help
inner.
someone who doesn't see they have a problem.
Right.
No therapist, nobody.
The first
Nah,
step
I
is
don't
to
help you.
I don't think
that's
I don't
the
think I
beginning.
don't have a problem. I talk about it. Like, I have conversations about certain stuff, but I just feel like, I don't know. It's not that.
So to your point,
He's gone to therapy.
if you're not willing to accept, let's put it that way, okay? Maybe not say that you got a problem, but if you're not willing to accept you need help, there is nothing anybody can do. Like, that's, as a therapist, I could teach you these tools. I could tell you everything. I could help you
If the therapist
rewire
got
how
a
you
therapist,
think. Huh?
If a therapist got a therapist, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Needs a
Yeah,
therapist.
because back to my point, therapy is not just for when you're having problems. Therapy is to help you learn how to be a good person, a better person to yourself, how to think better, how to live better. It's not necessarily like, I'm in crisis, I got to go get help. I'm going to die right here. Like, it's more so like, you know what? I want to change. I want to see how I can be more productive by myself, or, with me in my life and with others. And you go and learn how to be more cognitively aware, how to realize, there's like a thing called the cognitive triangle. And essentially it teaches you how your brain functions. And essentially the way we think is there's a core belief that fuels a behavior or feelings, and then you get your actions, and you're basically just going like this in trial and error the whole time. And so you're not realizing that's your form of thinking because you're in it. And the people around you probably don't even realize it's a faulty way of thinking, because they're also probably thinking the same thing, to your point, which is why you hang out with different people
To
as
give
you
you
heal,
different perspectives.
because you're going to be on different levels. If you are healing, you know what I mean, and you're hanging out with the same people, you are going to be hitting a wall, because there's nothing that's going to challenge you to grow. There's no one that's going to be holding you accountable to the new skills that you need.
If anything, it's just triggering that trauma
Correct.
All right,
that
so
you have subconsciously.
Correct.
What are the most common things that trigger like mental breakdowns?
Well, depends on the trauma that anybody's experienced.
It could be anything like
it's
death,
subjective.
losing your
I'm saying the
job,
most
or-
common things that cause
Sexual abuse, a loss of a parent,
Emotional abuse. I don't think
abuse.
I don't think our community emphasizes that enough.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us were emotionally and mentally battered.
Yeah.
And essentially, like we said from the beginning, that taught us how to be treated. So if you, as a child, you were constantly being battered or constantly being yelled at, constantly being cussed out, and then there wasn't that affection, and to balance that out, that physical touch. Because like I told you, like as an infant would die first without physical touch opposed to milk. Like it would live longer without milk, but it will die faster without touch.
That's why when after you give birth, you do skin to
Skin to skin. That sensation never goes away. That sensation never goes away. So you have adults who are longing for that sensation, that skin to skin, that touch that they never got.
it. Yeah. And also that comes back down to core beliefs, to your point. Like if you are being told your whole life that you're never going to amount to anything, that you're a failure.
You'll start believing that.
Exactly. And so you will live the rest of your life pushing people away that see different than you, but not believing in yourself, not giving yourself the chances that you deserve, not going after things, taking risks, because you're constantly believing that you're a failure, that you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. So it's a trickle effect, it really just depends. What triggers somebody is very subjective to their life, but it could be trauma of multiple different kinds, of grief, it really just depends.
Do you feel like it's people out there that never experienced trauma in their life? Do you think that's possible?
I don't think so.
No.
No. I believe there's people that experience less harsher traumas than others.
Because no human being is perfect.
Yeah,
so no
you're gonna go
parent
through
is
something.
perfect. You're going to go through something.
You're going to go through the loss of somebody you love, and that's trauma. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a
Yeah, the
parent
car
or
accident.
somebody close to you. What'd you say?
So you can get in a car accident.
A car accident?
Something as simple, like something not even intentional. Like you could be 15 and then your parents could move. You getting picked up and moved to a whole different city or state. To some children, that could be traumatic. They have to start over. Now they have to
Find new
use skills that
friends
they've
and-
never had because they've been in the same, community or situations or friend groups for 15 years.
I don't feel like I ever went through like nothing, like no big trauma.
We all
that
know
was
you
like,
special, so we're going to skip you. We're going to talk about the people.
No, I'm saying I really
got
don't think I
problems.
went
So
through.
you just lived the whole perfect life.
No,
You
I
have
know
no
I didn't
issues.
live the perfect life, but it's just like I don't think I went through nothing that was like really.
So with someone like in his situation, do you believe in like hypnosis or like psychedelic healing?
What? Whoa.
Yeah, no. Okay, so
turn.
no, because I do. I'm a hairstylist, so I come in contact with all types of people, like holistic healers, like people that like practice like Reiki and like just different things. And I've been trying, some things. So I'm like,
There's DMT.
is that something that you?
Yeah, there's DMT, there's ayahuasca, which is a really big thing people do when they're processing and doing some healing. Damn, can I have one?
Right?
They be trying
But
to judge my life.
real talk. I never mentioned. What you said, though?
Nothing, go ahead.
Like I done been shot at. Somebody tried to kill me before. Like,
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute.
listen.
Can we
No, listen.
Hold on.
We need to play it back where he said he's never been through nothing.
No, listen.
And then
But this is what I'm
his-
saying. I done been through that, and it's like I never thought about it. Like, never thought about it to that point where it's like I don't have moments
please.
where I'm just randomly thinking like
please.
somebody
Shot,
tried to
please.
kill me. It'd be like, damn, like it'd be like I don't think about it that much.
Who are
Because
you,
you-
Tony Soprano? Like,
No.
I think
Tony Soprano.
just no care.
I think to go off of what you're saying, I think to turn that into a positive, one of the best things that you can do for
I look
yourself.
at it like I'm blessed. Like I believe in God, so it'd be like, damn, you blessed. Like I think about it like that, but I never think like, damn, that shit, like PTSD, or I'm thinking somebody trying to kill me. I'm paranoid when I go out, but it's just like, damn, you blessed. I grew up in church, so that probably could have been my, like,
that too.
because I believe in a lot of like the Bible, and you know, so I think that played a part into how I think and how I look at stuff. I believe like when it's your time, you know, it's your time. You live right, you're going to heaven, but it's like I don't sit there and like really hold on or hold grudges about a lot of situations.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I would say, you know, if you've been shot at, you got to look at it like that's not normal
behavior.
You know, like,
Yeah, I know that's not normal.
I don't know, man, like we should.
But like I said, I look at it like I think
talk
about the positive more than it'd be like, damn, you blessed, you survived, like you got another chance at life. Like I look at it like that more than I look at like, damn,
Which is
you
good.
almost lost your life.
Finding a silver lining like that is really good because it's not going to keep you like, oh my God, I was
Stuck
killed. Like, yeah, it's not going to keep you like hyper vigilant, you know, and looking over your shoulder all the time. But it's definitely something to think about.
How do you feel like religion play a part in like healing? Like,
I feel like it's definitely
It's the religion while we take the shots.
water to wine.
shot o'clock.
Shot o'clock.
You gotta
No, this sir.
Passing.
Oh shoot, my bad. I thought you
Yeah,
were
I ain't
taking
want
one.
no shot.
Let me take this before I answer that question because it's not necessary.
Cheers
Yeah, because I want to get back to the
Cheers to
question.
him being a session. Cheers to him.
A quick
him being a
session.
A quick session.
But yeah, I grew up in church, so it's like I look at a lot of situations like bless, a second chance. You here for a reason. Like I always think about the positive in any situation. Like I think about like me getting through it or got through
I like
it.
that for you.
Yeah.
I love that for you. But like I said, you got to make sure you're not doing the fake positivity thing either, where you're constantly psyching yourself out and saying like, oh, you know, it's not a bad thing to count your blessings. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we are blessed to have every single day. You know, even in the current state of the world, I say that even more nowadays. But
I think the
How do I
messed up
say
part
this?
about it is a lot of that is subconscious. Like I don't even think he's consciously
that's
trying to do
damn,
that.
Are we like here?
we
Because I
are,
was literally about to say that.
It's your
But
subconscious.
it wasn't a situation where like I was a target. Like, well, I don't want to say I wasn't a target, but it ain't something I did to that person. It was just like, okay, you with them, so everybody, you know, it was a situation like that. So it was like they wasn't just aiming for me.
But that don't justify the fact that you were shot at.
I think because I done been shot before on 2 different occasions. I've been shot 3 times on 2 different occasions. My first time I got shot, I was 19. My second time, I was like 21. And I used to psych myself as like, tell myself like, this is just what it is. Like, this is what type of life I'm living. So it's like, this is what comes with it. So I was able to walk around every day with no pressure because it was like, that's just what it is.
So now that you've gotten help, do you feel like you have PTSD?
I just don't be in those type of circles anymore. You know what I'm saying? I learned to get away from those type of people and those type of situations. And
So
because
you
a lot of
learned
things,
how to avoid the triggers.
Yeah,
from
yeah, the
having
triggers.
possible PTSD.
because the second time, after a while, I was walking around like that, and then after a while, it started to be too much. Like I used to be paranoid. Like
Being hypervigilant.
yeah, I
watching everything.
couldn't really sleep, type of thing. Because the second time I got shot by a really close friend.
Oh,
So that kind of messed, that probably
So
triggered trust and everything.
everyone around me, I started kind of to question.
correct.
And so that bring on a different type of paranoia versus the first time it was from like an actual enemy type of situation.
So that's more expected, obviously. as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah,
to
you feel what I'm
somebody in
saying? So the
circle.
second
Absolutely.
time was somebody that actually I deal with on an everyday basis, so it brought a different type of paranoia on, and then I really had to get that checked because it really was, my life was really going down the spiral. So when you say, you telling yourself, oh, you know, I wasn't really worried about it, but I remember saying that to myself too because it's like, I was psyching myself out like, it's not that bad. This is what every street nigga go through.
That's what I was just gonna say. when you're in that environment and you're constantly surrounded by that, all of that seems so normalized that
Right.
you will never realize it's a
Until you
problem
get out.
until you
because
get
it will
out.
desensitize you. You'll be desensitized.
Exactly. So it's like you're constantly seeing these things, you're constantly hearing about it, you're constantly thinking or going or gearing towards violence as your solution, then you're constantly going to think that that's okay, you know,
I think-
because you don't know any better. That's what you're around. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people, you know, born into, let's say, a gang affiliation, right? Like you have gang ties or whatever. That's all you're going to know. That's literally all you're going to know. The lingo, the business, the associations, you know, the constant having to look over your back because of the enemies, or always having to have a weapon on you or somebody guarding you or something like that. Like
And if
all
that's
of that
all
is
you
gonna
know,
seem
then that's
normal.
normal. But until you go around people where you see, well, hey, like this really isn't that normal, like you won't be triggered to make any changes.
Yeah, that's why I'm a firm believer in getting away from your hometown, which is funny because we haven't. But you know,
we came from kind of wholesome suburban,
a little different suburban area.
So what do y'all got to say to people who? Because I was talking to someone and they was like, man, I don't want to tell nobody my business. Like, you think them people actually don't go home and tell their husbands or their
confidentiality.
wives
Ooh, I love
something,
this part.
something
Yeah,
you,
like how do you
something
deal with
you
that, the
just so
confidentiality?
like for the people who watching, who feels that way, like I don't want to come talk to her because she gonna go home and tell her husband, because you don't never know who.
Right.
You know, so
don't
people that's
even-
watching,
right.
what's your advice to them if they feel that way?
Well, hopefully the therapist you find is ethical and
Right.
doesn't actually divulge
Right.
any information. Like I don't.
It's against the law.
It is against the
It is
law.
against the
So
law.
like for whatever reason, if something happens
Even the police are not supposed to.
yeah, the only times so let me start there. The only time we're mandated to go against
If you say you're gonna
confidentiality
kill yourself.
is if you're going to kill yourself,
someone
if you're a
else.
threat to yourself or somebody else, or if there's abuse going on and you're aware of it. Also, like, let's say, for example, you're in marriage counseling and one of the spouses tells you like some literal, like really important information that they're keeping from their spouse. You are allowed to bring that to the spouse and say, hey, look, this is actually what's going on, because you just never know when a person's life is in danger. So there's going to be situations where you will have to speak up. But those are really the only, like even in court, like if I were to get subpoenaed, the only time that I can actually speak on what is actually said is if I'm being called in as a witness, not as a practitioner. So if I'm being called as a witness, then I have to say, look, and even then I'm still allowed to keep
Withhold,
confidentiality.
right.
Yeah. So at no point is confidentiality ever 100% broken unless it is you are a detriment to yourself or somebody else around you.
Okay.
So if you are afraid,
understandable.
yeah, and all the notes we take are inside of an encrypted software. So like you're not allowed to have notes on your phone. You're not allowed to use like FaceTime. You're not allowed to use anything that's not HIPAA approved and encrypted. So all of anything that is ever written by a therapist is going to be confidential. It's never at public reach. So I would say if confidentiality is what you're afraid of, don't be.
Right.
You know,
And
because
find a therapist that prioritizes trust. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's essentially a relationship that you're starting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
find a therapist
Switch
that's
them
not
out.
ditching, like
Correct.
diving
Switch
in
'em out.
off the top. Like find a therapist that's going to sit with you, understand where you are, because you have to meet people where they are. Find a therapist that's going to meet you where you are and be patient to build that trust until and then maybe start like peeling back the layers.
Yeah,
It's
and
that spirit of discernment.
Right.
Correct.
Everybody has that spirit in them. Spirit of discernment. If you and that person aren't vibing, or you don't
If it
feel
don't
like
feel right, yeah.
It's just
we can
like a
click,
friend. It's just like a
Yeah.
job. It's just like a relationship.
Don't force
If
it.
that's not the person for you, don't force it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you're going to trial and error. It's like, it's just like you're looking for, I don't know, like if you're getting married and you go to like different places for cakes or whatever. I know it's kind of like a ridiculous comparison, but it's the same
Yeah, but
thing.
yeah.
You know,
You taste around.
You taste around. Yeah. You go around, you see what services you like, what you don't like. A lot of things to consider is that every therapist practices different forms of therapy. Like I do primarily cognitive behavioral therapy and existential and humanistic. So I'm very much focused on the person and emphasizing the person's strengths and capabilities and rebuilding from within. A lot of people are trauma focused and trauma centered, so they're only going to help you go through your traumas. So it really just depends on, what it is that you need, but also the therapist and what services they provide and your personality. Like, for example, I used to see a white therapist. We didn't mesh.
I need somebody that don't.
She
You
didn't.
need to understand where I'm coming
And
from.
I 100%
feel me.
support that. If
Yeah.
you don't feel like your therapist relates to you or understands what you're going through, don't continue.
Right.
You don't have to.
Because you're spending your money.
Yeah, and honestly, another way
And
to
your
look at
time.
it is if, one of y'all was my client and something happened in your life and I was like, you know what, I'm not,
Fit for
prepared,
this,
I'm not
yeah.
educated enough for this, correct, then it is my duty to refer you to somebody else.
I didn't know.
Yes, it is actually a responsibility we have because ethically speaking, if I'm not giving you quality care that I'm actually trained in, I can harm you unintentionally. So it is our responsibility to say, you know what, I don't know enough about this. Here's somebody who does. And if I may not know in that moment, I'm gonna help you find that person.
Yeah.
Because that's my responsibility is to hand you off. I can't just leave you like, oh, you know what, I can't help you on this. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own. Ethically speaking, that's not okay. Your safety is our number one concern. We have to look out for that too. Like I have to make sure that every time one of my clients is in my chair, they're not on the brink of suicide. And if they are, it's about to be a long ass day because, then we got to get people involved. You got to get Baker acted. You have to do all those things. And I can't leave somebody. I can lose my license, like any therapist can lose their license if they do something critical like that because your patient's responsibility or your patient's health is your responsibility. So, yeah, to your point, if confidentiality is something that scares you, just know we abide by it. And it's okay to be scared for that because obviously trusting a stranger with your emotions is a lot.
Exactly. It's scary. And that's a big step because it's out of the normal. Like I said, we are in a generation now where we are like self-advocating for, mental health awareness and going to therapy and actually normalizing it. So,
Yeah.
What are some signs that people might be like having a mental breakdown that they might not know themselves that they going through it? Because a lot of people don't like know that they dealing with something. Like,
Isolation is the biggest one. If you feel like you don't want to be around people, if you're not driven to go out and do stuff, if you want to just stay home and keep yourself away from people, that's a sign of depression, isolation.
Oversharing. The opposite of that.
Yeah.
You find yourself just telling all your tea to the person behind you in Publix. You stressed out.
Yeah.
You might be a little stressed out.
I talk a lot. I be telling
Half
people
of
all my
Facebook
business.
for stressed out.
Run into
Y'all hear that,
social
Facebook?
media.
Yeah.
Shit.
Run into tell anybody that will
Being
listen.
overly emotional, like being overly sensitive can be a really big one too, or the lack of emotion. So like if you completely numb and you're not feeling anything, then that's also a sign of that.
Right.
Man, there's so many signs of, but I would say those are the biggest ones to worry about. Or anger. I'm gonna keep touching on that. Because anger is not only an emotion, it's a major warning sign that there's something underlying. So I would say definitely anger is one of those key points. If you are easily irritable, if you just go 0 to 100 by the drop of a dime, stuff like that could definitely be
Or if
signs.
you're regulating yourself by things
by substance
like
abuse,
food,
yeah, substance
or
abuse, food,
people, or sex, or
I've been
drugs.
using food lately. I have
Do you
been
feel
doing
like
that.
relationships can be a trigger, like
Yeah.
a common trigger for mental?
Oh yeah, yeah,
being around the wrong people.
And how like
relationships could take you to the brink of death.
what can cause it? Like what's the most common
two
causes?
people being unequally yoked.
Toxic.
Equally yoked right there.
Hey, can mean toxic.
If someone is fully tapped in emotionally and you date someone who's fully tapped out, you're not.
Your spirits
It's
are
like-
not gonna.
What you
it's-
mean fully tapped out?
It's
So-
like
To her point earlier, when she asked you if you are with somebody and that person wants you to be emotionally involved, emotionally tapped in, and you're not, right? And that person's love language to be affection, affection, physical time,
love,
communication, whatever, you know what I mean? To that person, emotions is what keeps them going. To you, it's not that. Right. So having somebody who needs your emotion and you can't give it to them, that person's going to overthink. That person's going to be anxious. That person's going to be depressed. That person's going to overcompensate, which is a huge one that we do when we feel like we need to keep that person, but we can't naturally.
So how do you comfort a woman that's like depressed or going through something as a man? Like, what would you say?
What do you mean? Like, how would you approach a woman that's going through something like that?
Like, yeah, comfort a woman that's like in a depressed state in a relationship. Like,
I don't think it's a comfort. I think that it's bringing the awareness to her, like, what's up, like, making sure this person is present. How do you feel right now?
I think what he means is, like, how do you walk somebody off the ledge?
You just be supportive.
Right.
You just be supportive, because there's nothing that you can do for another person. They have to do their own work.
Yeah, so just support them.
You will kill yourself. You'll crash out trying to help somebody else. They have
can't
to
be the floating
ready.
device, basically.
Right.
You
They
can't
have to be
keep
ready.
somebody afloat. But the way to do that is, like she's saying, supportive, hear them out, be attentive. If the person is saying, like, I'm sad or I'm depressed or whatever, do check-ins every couple hours.
Genuinely, too.
Yeah. Be like, just want to check in how you're doing, if you need anything, like stuff like that. Like bring her flowers. Her favorite candy, pick up dinner and just bring it to the house.
Be honest with yourself. Like, if at some point you feel like that's too much for you, then you got to let that situation go.
Yeah,
because that's not your responsibility.
It's not your responsibility.
Imagine letting somebody go and they already depressed. That might drive them to the.
But that's not your responsibility.
That's not your responsibility.
No, it's
So
not.
do,
Until
as a
this
therapist,
is right here.
do y'all push physical like activity to help with mental health, like exercise? Like, do y'all push that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially me. I definitely believe in the mind, body, soul connection, especially when you're healing, because it all has to be intertwined. Yeah. Like, to our point, you can't help nobody that doesn't want to be helped, that doesn't see the problem. So in order to be helped, you have to be like, okay, I know I need the help. I want to be helped. I'm getting the help. Does that make sense?
And I'm actively taking steps every day to
correct
continue to pursue a healthy journey.
So to his point, exercise, and it could be 20-30 minutes. It don't have to be like a gym rat type of exercise. It don't have to be crazy.
Just going for a walk and
a swim,
getting fresh air,
giving yourself 5-10 minutes out the day, no social media,
exactly.
no phone,
Yep. But exercise definitely, because it also helps your endorphins, and it helps produce the actual, neurotransmitter in your brain to make the happy serotonin. Also, eating better definitely helps, because something that a lot of people don't know, and I love telling people this because everyone's like, oh my God, because all of your what the fuck? Okay.
Comes from your gut.
Sorry, yes, your serotonin comes from your gut. So if you're eating McDonald's every day and you're eating or drinking Coke 5-6 times a day, nothing but candy and all that stuff, you are going to be feeling like crap, because your body doesn't have the nutrients it needs.
Right.
So eating, sleeping, water,
the music, what you watch,
what you watch,
the people that you're talking to, what they're telling you, because all of that is getting ingested, and it's being filtered. So if it's not good material, then if you're already low, and then your best friend telling you, oh, you always sad, you get on my nerves, like, how are you going to grow in a situation like that?
Yeah.
It's crazy that you mentioned that, because I feel like when I'm like, man, the world can be like coming to an end. Like, I feel like I take a nap. I'm like, if I'm going through something, that's my first thing I do. I take a nap, and like, I'm going to deal with it when I wake up.
Or do you?
No.
I feel like I deal with it if it's still there when I wake up. But if it's like it passed by the time I wake up, cool. But if it's there when I wake up, I'm a overthinker too.
I have a family member that didn't wake up.
Oh,
that was only 2 years older than me. I'm 31.
Damn, he
did not wake up.
That was a hard one.
So you shouldn't sleep.
That's not what she's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
You shouldn't push off.
He went into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And that had a lot to do with his mental health, his diet, stress levels, and it being suppressed and not filtered and dealt with.
Stress is
Yeah,
But I'm in
a
a-
killer.
Girl, what is up with us?
It's
Y'all
the-
taking
it's
the
the-
words.
I'm in a different
It's
state.
the green.
Like,
It's the green.
It's the green.
like I changed my surroundings. I'm like in a way different place. So a lot of stuff I used to deal with, like I don't deal with now. Like currently, I don't like deal with those type of things. Like being in the streets or being around people in the streets.
That's good.
I'm in a like whole nother environment, so I don't deal with a lot of that stuff.
But now that you're in those new environments, you're going to notice more and more how your past environments were not what you thought it was.
As healthy as it was.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, because I'll never go back to that shit.
yeah, nah. We never
Love
going
that for
back.
you.
We're never going backwards. We're moving
Love-
forward. And I think the biggest step in moving forward is having accountability partners.
Yeah.
Having people that's going to hold you accountable and people in your circle that's going to, uplift you. That's going to, all right, you doing this? All right, cool. You set this Monday. By Friday, I'm checking on you, make sure you got something checked off the list. So,
But also another really big part of this that I tell people is knowing you're worth it.
yeah.
Knowing you're worth the healing, knowing you're worth your sacrifice, and you're unlearning to relearn, like knowing your value and that you have value.
And giving yourself grace
Correct.
throughout that time, because you got to think, I'm 31. So that means I have 31 years
To
of
unlearn.
things that I have to unpack. And then I have to figure out, not only that's the easy part, realizing that you have to make a change. But the hard part is changing your perspective.
Correct.
Okay, so this is what I was taught. This is what I saw. So what do I like?
Right.
What do I want to do? Who am I?
This is
I think a lot of people suffer with identity crisis as well, and that's not talked about enough either.
Well, that's going back to what I was saying about what the hell? Okay. Going back to what I was saying about core beliefs. It's one of those things where if you are only allowing yourself to think of what you were told about yourself, that's as far as you're going to get. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's to your point, like, this is what I was told, this is what I know, but what is my actual belief? So you got to sit with yourself. Like you said, ask, who am I? And figure that out. Who
learn
are
yourself.
you
Who am
without
I?
the noise of your parents? Who are you without the noise of your exes? Who are you without the noise of your friends? Who
Or
are
your
you
children.
without your
Social
own
media,
insecurities?
your career, your
Yeah, like who are you fundamentally
What
without
do you
the
like?
noise?
What do you want?
Yeah. What do you want out of life? Who do you want around you? Like, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Like, really got to get to know these things about yourself, because a really big thing that we aren't taught is that we live lives based off of identities that other people build for us.
Oh God, and it's so horrible now because everybody has the same identity.
Right.
With social media, it's made it so much harder because now we want to replicate what we see instead of sticking to what or who we are as individuals.
Well, that too, but also, like, think about when you're a kid and your parents are constantly telling you, know this, know that. Oh, you shouldn't like this. Oh, you shouldn't do that because you're a girl. You shouldn't do this because you're a boy.
Or you only look
so
good
all
like
that
this.
exactly. Or don't eat too much because you're gonna get fat. Or your hair. Or this, like, all
all the stuff that's in your subconscious.
Exactly. So all of that eventually,
You have to unlearn.
You have to unlearn. You have to see yourself outside of all the criticism that was passed down to you.
And those triggers haven't gone away.
Exactly.
If your parents or your friends or whatever environment that made you feel that way is still there, then you have to be strong enough to go around your parents and set those boundaries and go around your friends or go around whoever.
or cut them off.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people have an issue with the idea of cutting off family because it's family. Oh, whatever.
Fuck them families.
But you know what? Sometimes family be your first enemies, and they gotta go first.
Yeah,
We don't choose our family.
I never had that problem, but we kind of went over our time. So
All right.
before we go, I want to ask everybody.
I want to
like,
squeeze a question in. I know, Phil, we press time, but we're going to conversate you, brother. I
got
just want to
you,
squeeze
Phil.
I just want
Big
to squeeze this
Phil.
question in real quick before we get to our last part. Okay, for the people that's watching, with kids, social media, should they keep their kids off social media for that? Because y'all was talking about, those pressures been put down on people about being a certain way, because everybody watching, these kids watching a lot of, they want to be this rapper, football player, singer, whatever it is, scientist, because you could be anything now on fucking TikTok. But should they keep their kids away from that to save them when
maturity.
can't be these type of things?
I think you give them the tools that they need to navigate through it. Because I think that's our problem. Like, the generation before us shielded us from everything. And we didn't really know the real. Well, some of us didn't know the real until we became adults. So if you give them the tools to navigate through anything in life, then they'll be set. If you hide it from them, then they're going to find it on their own, and then they're going to lack the skills set to know how to navigate through it. So don't hide it from them. You just...
I do agree with that. I do agree that, you know, teach your children the right thing instead of trying to keep them protected by everything. Because, again, the reality is going to hit them 10 times as hard.
My 1-year-old has a tablet. He's already on YouTube. I can't hide the world from him. Yeah. He's already been exposed to it. Yeah. He doesn't even understand it, and he's been exposed to it.
I would say, though, that I do believe that kids should be left off social media for a certain point, simply because of a lot of the psychological issues that come from social media.
Yeah, they're not fully developed.
They're not fully developed. So a lot of what they're seeing, even if we teach them a lot of those things, a lot of what they're seeing, you know, can cause insecurity, can cause body dysmorphia, can cause a lot of anxiety and depression, because there's a lot of comparison and there's a lot of bullying that happens on social media. We got bullied
physically. Like, our bully was now to our face. Now it's people creating fake pages on children.
So you don't even know who's being your bully.
You don't even know who's talking about you at this point.
So I would say, you know, yes, teach your children things. Speak to children in their language. Never hide anything from a child. Just find a way to tell them within the way that they're going to understand. And as they grow, you emphasize that, and you'll keep developing that. Because at the end of the day, again, like I said, we're raising we're raising kids to be, you know,
functional
citizens, functional adults of a society. And if you don't start at a young age, it ain't going to work by the time they're 10 or 12. There's so much already there that you failed to teach them if you wait till 10 that it's not going to grasp. Like, they're not going to get it. Right. So I would say, yes, keep your kids off of social media until they have their own identity.
So how do you teach them how to be strong and be open and emotional?
You raise them in an environment without judgment.
I think that trust, having that open line of trust, and not like being so critical.
Yeah.
I think like just constructive criticism and how you talk to them.
Because we were raised out of survival. Most of us, probably all of us in this room, can admit that we were raised out of survival. So our parents oftentimes were telling us to be quiet, to not make a mess, to do this, to this, that, because we were adding more to their stress, and they couldn't handle that. But in reality, they needed to let us scream. They needed to let us make a mess. They needed to let us put water all over the place. They needed to let us eat dirt if it called for that. Because that's a part of what's making each of us our own individual. Stealing those little moments from a kid can be completely detrimental. If my son is having a tantrum and I tell him, "Oh, stop crying, you're okay."
You're telling him how to feel.
Yeah, I'm teaching him.
I just seen a good analogy on it. It was like, you're not going to, if someone's bleeding, you're not just going to stick, like, their knees falling off. You're not just going to give them a Band-Aid and say, hey, you're okay. You're actually going to follow through and make sure, like, okay, what do we need to do to make this, like, fully
clean it up,
again?
Help them
So the
walk.
same way you should do with mental health.
And it's exhausting. As a parent, I'm going to be real. It's very exhausting. It's tiring. Every little thing, you have to talk it out. You have to explain it. But in the long run,
it'll work.
It's so much more beneficial.
Because, and this is something that I've learned as a parent, and these last 4 years have been trying. Oh, man. But it's to that point. My kid is a developing person. And if I want him to be a certain person in this world, if I want him to be a loving, respectful, caring man to, let's say, for example, you know, a woman in the future, if I want him to be a well-rounded husband, obviously I have to teach him how to be that man. I have to teach him how to be emotionally intelligent, how to respect a woman, how to value a woman, you know, and all that comes from showing him how to treat me and how I treat him. You know what I mean?
And it's not what you say. Children do what they see.
Exactly. So if I'm constantly yelling at him and pushing him to the side and telling him, oh my God, stop crying, you're driving me crazy, all I'm doing is teaching him how to be somebody who's going to keep to himself in the future. Whereas if I sit with him and he tells me, Mommy, you made me upset, which he does. That 4-year-old tells me about myself more than I want. But he tells me straight up, he'll sit down and be like, you know, I didn't like that you said that to me. Or, you know, you said a bad word and that wasn't very nice. Or, you know, you promised me this. And like, he'll remind me of stuff I said.
Accountable.
And I'm like, damn. okay. So, you know, you
Right.
got to live up to that. But that's somebody that's going to be, you know, somebody's best friend, somebody's student, somebody's husband, somebody's something outside of just my son. And it's my job to teach him those skills to be that person.
Okay, so I got a question for Thump. So since you've been doing therapy, right? Have your parenting changed like towards your son? Like I know you want to be a man, be strong, be, you know, all that. But have your parenting changed from like then and now?
Yeah, because I let him voice his opinion versus,
You felt like you didn't let him voice his opinion before?
yeah, when I was younger, it was what I said go and shut the hell up and, you know, that type of shit.
So
But,
what changes you see now?
yeah, I'll talk to him first. Like, I cut out the ass whoopings and start having more of a conversation with him. Like, I talk to him on a daily, not only when he's in trouble or not only when he's doing good, but just every day, you know, on the ride to school. Like, you know, this conversation, you know, turn up, especially if someone on the radio, something positive, you know, just talk about just, you know, hey, how you doing? Like, what's going on this morning? Like, you feeling all right? Like, you want to talk before you go to school? Like, I had those conversations with him now versus before therapy, I wasn't doing that at all.
And what changes you see like since you like
Oh,
switched
yeah,
it
he
up?
definitely opened up and tell me things without no issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have those talks all the time. So it definitely opened the door for that type of communication. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
we good on
The
that part.
consistency
You made a
made
safe
him
space.
feel
Yeah,
safe.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
So do you feel like you would want your son to go out there and be like emotional or being, because a lot of places you go in the locker room football.
So when you think,
you
when
know,
you say
you
emotional, I think you think of like him being a bitch.
not being not being a bitch, but being like you
expressive.
can't be okay like bullying. You go in the football locker room and you kind of, you know, it's different. You go in there, it's like, do you want him to?
But all it takes is one person, because his son could be an example for the next person that
Right.
was holding back, that was like, I'm scared to say something because they're going to bitch me out. They're gonna, But him instilling that, and it may be one or two that's like him too, that's going to stand up for, you know, how they feel. Or what they
Because
feel.
his son has that safe space where he has an outlet where
He'll
he
feel
can talk to
confident.
his dad, he may have enough confidence to stand up to those people and say,
Correct.
hey, like, this is how I'm
right.
rocking.
Yep.
If you don't like it, then whatever.
Yeah,
Because it have been situations where I let him wear his necklace to school, and he texted me like, "Hey, Dad, these kid talking about taking my chain," and I was like, "Listen, after today, you can't wear the chain to school no more." I said, "Listen, wear your chain. Just don't let anybody touch you. If anybody touch you, then you do what you got to do. But you know, after this day, you can't wear a chain to school no more." Because I should have known as an adult not to let him go to school and get that type of attention anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, tuck your chain. You're not a bitch. You know, just ignore them. They're just talking.
Because the
If
crazy thing,
somebody try to put their hands on you, then you do what you have to do, or you go. You can't go tell an adult defend yourself, but you know if it escalate, go let somebody know, hey, what's going on, and then we'll handle it from there.
because even if you change a child environment, I feel like kids in good neighborhoods, like they want to fit in or they want to be what they see on the TV, like rappers. You got kids that had both parents in their life and went to great schools,
But just
they want to
because
be
you
gangster.
have both parents and you went to a great school doesn't mean you
mean
had a
anything.
great emotional or mental life.
Exactly.
You could have been in a very unstable emotional or
Household.
mental
Because
place
in-
because your parents 9 times out of 10 was working
Right.
a lot and you weren't getting that attention. And that's why they're craving that attention from outside sources.
Right, because usually in parents and households like that, everything is material.
Right.
Oh,
It
you
looks
want
good.
this? Oh, here.
Or it's
or
on
you're crying
paper.
and you're bitching or whatever. Okay, what do you want? Here, I'll just give it to you. Or go watch TV. Everything is a solution, like a prop to throw at the child. When realistically speaking, the child just wants some love and
They
affection and
just
a
want
damn
a
hug.
Yeah.
And for
So
you
they're
to ask
acting
them
out
how
and
their
doing
day
these
is.
things, yeah.
You know, I've seen that before. And the reason why kids want to go out and be thugs or whatever, however they're looking for attention, is that it's because they're looking for attention that they're not getting at home. They
And
want
the
to feel
girls,
in
too,
love.
the girls are having sex early, you know, jumping into relationships early because they're looking for that affection that they're not getting.
Yeah, so
Even
that's
in
why,
even in single mom households, a lot of moms have to be tough so that there doesn't leave enough room for
Them
the
to have the
softness,
feminine, the soft-
the,
yeah.
the hugging, the loving, the nurturing. A lot of moms don't have time. That's not an excuse, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. But we hit a lot of good topics tonight, guys. You guys are very insightful. Very insightful. Jennifer, I think you said you had like resources that you wanted to mention for people that were looking for help. You might have that listed on our social media. I don't know if we'll be able to.
I can send it a list. But there's also, so for people that, especially if you're a veteran, there's a what the hell is this thing called? It's a company called Pan American, and what they do is that they basically will help you find, if you need a substance abuse treatment center, they'll help you find it. If you need a therapist, they'll help you find it. Whatever it is that you're looking for, they'll help you find it. And it's usually for people that don't have insurance. And it's pretty affordable.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the best thing I could say is, don't be afraid to look into community resources also. There's a lot of people that work out of community centers. Like, for instance, if you are within the LGBTQ community and you are in Orlando, there's this place called the Zebra Coalition, and they do a lot of counseling stuff there as well. There's a lot, honestly. There's a lot of resources I could give. So I'll send you guys a list.
Awesome.
Off the top of your head, just for the average person just wanting to, like, maybe they saw this and they're like, hey, well, maybe I can sit down and talk to somebody. Where would you suggest that they start?
Or even you.
Or how do they talk to you?
As well?
Send me an email, jennifer.cruz93@gmail.com. That's my personal email, so I can definitely get you to the right spot of some services, or anybody that I work with as well for services. I know a lot of the people that I work with are pretty affordable, myself included. So feel free to reach out to me, and we could do that as well. Also, places like Talkspace or BetterHelp, just to get an initial foot in the door, and be able to like have like a network to kind of test out different therapists and see, what's for you. Psychology Today is also a really good website that you can go and type in your zip code, and it'll give you people in your area, and it'll tell you what insurance they take, what specialties they have, if they don't take insurance, how much their fee is.
Okay.
I would say that's probably the most legit resource.
Are there resources for minority therapists? Because I know a lot of people who only want to see like maybe Black therapists.
It's hard to say specifically like one website where it would be all minority people. Honestly, I would say a really big advocate place to find a person of color for therapy would be social media, to be honest, is just typing.
Hashtags.
Yeah, hashtags, or just typing in Instagram, and a lot of people will say it, like therapists of community color or colors, it'll be out there, but you could definitely look it up and search a handle or a hashtag. So I don't really say like there's a website particularly, but Psychology Today, you can filter, and you can, and it'll show, sometimes it'll have pictures of the therapist as well, so you can kind of do your gauge. But I would also just kind of flat out use your resources and just type in, like Hispanic therapist or Black therapist or Asian therapist in your zip code, because that'll be, the shot got me hot. But that'll be, the best way to kind of narrow down your search is by looking at it that way.
Well, I believe we like help some people tuning in. Like you said, touched a lot of great
we did
points.
So if you guys have any questions,
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Did you?
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make some changes. Definitely, take heed to what y'all said and try to, open up. But
it's only for your best interest,
Right. I know I'd be a great parent now. Talking to y'all, like y'all conversation, like me and Ashley, we don't got kids, so like that was a lot of
I'm glad
taking it all in.
Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely open for anybody to reach out to me and have any type of conversations. My Instagram handle is _Jennifer M. Cruz. Probably find me there. I'm not going to give out my Twitter, but definitely Instagram, or email me at the email that I gave out before, and we could definitely set something up. But yeah.
And how can we find you on Instagram? Do I give you your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is crown_me_couture. I was speaking to her prior to the podcast. I'm getting into mental health. I'm trying to figure out what avenue I want to kind of tap into, and then going from there so you guys can find a lot of
Definitely see you
content.
doing some speeches. Definitely see you
Yeah,
doing that.
tell her come out of that shell. But yeah, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Subscribe, share.
Yes.
Free Dope Media, Free
Follow
Dope
us on social
Podcast.
media.
Yeah, we'll be back next week,
We'll see you guys
Tuesday,
next week.
Thank you,
7
Phil.
p.m.
Big Phil.
Shout out
Yeah,
Phil.
shout out Phil. Oh yeah, we got. Oh, that